Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, and I'm back to bring you another episode review from Season 7 of The Loud House. So let's get right into it. Today's episode is Music to My Fears. In this episode, Luna suffers a hand injury and recruits a young guitarist named Nina to audition for the Moon Goats as a temporary replacement for an upcoming gig, but then she tries to stop Nina's audition out of fear of being permanently replaced. I never thought I'd have to say something like this, but this was honestly one of the stupidest, if not the stupidest Luna episode I've ever seen. I'm not trying to say it's entirely bad because there are some things I actually liked about it. However, the presentation of Luna's character, the setting up and execution of the main conflict, and how the story comes to a close just weren't all that good in my opinion. I mean, I can understand why Luna would be worried about being replaced by another guitarist, but the problem is the audience is never given a reason to believe the Moon Goats would outright replace her. Like maybe if the band was noticing how Luna had been offered game recently and they could use her hand injury as an excuse to kick her to the curb, that could be something the episode could have worked with. Instead, Luann plants the fear in Luna's head after she recounts a time where an understudy replaced her during an audition for a school play. I get what the writers were going for because each respective conflict is similar to an extent, but we never find out if Luann was ever permanently replaced by that same girl in every school play going forward. Therefore, the comparison Luann tries to make to a one-off situation is not as strong as it appears to be. But regardless, Luna has Luann prevent Nina from making it to the band audition by intentionally making the bus she was on stop every few seconds and having Nina take crazy detours on her skateboard. Speaking of that audition, why would the band waste their time on people who play anything but a guitar when they were realistically only looking for someone who could play the guitar? Why would they make a poster looking for any and all musicians if they were only looking for a guitarist? Even Luna directly tells Nina her band needed a temporary guitarist. Come to think of it, where was Chunk in all of this? He could have been Luna's replacement, and yet we get no explanation on why he was conveniently absent. There were also two people holding guitars while standing in line at the audition. So unless those two totally sucked, why would Luna completely snub actual guitarists and then have the band settle for Joey and his sousaphone out of desperation? Couldn't she teach those other guitarists how to step up their game before the gig started? And just for the record, that brass instrument was in fact a sousaphone, not a tuba. It's weird how musicians like Luna and Joey couldn't tell the difference. Since I brought him up, this episode marks the return of Joey, last seen in Party Down from Season 2. I like how they took this once-nothing character from the past and gave him some development. We find out he's a talented sousaphone player and has been a member of the marching band since middle school, which means he developed a tendency to constantly march around while he plays. This led to Luna and Lynn trying all kinds of wacky methods to prevent Joey from marching around while he performs, all of which proving to be ineffective. Even their plan to have him perform on a moving treadmill backfired, as if no one could have seen that disaster coming a mile away. That's when Luna becomes overwhelmed with guilt and gets Nina to perform with the band. The gig is well received by the crowd. Luna finds out she was never going to be replaced, as if there was ever any evidence to support the idea that she was, and the band hires Nina to be the opening act for their next concert. Now speaking of Nina, even though she had far less screen time than Joey, she was by far the most interesting, if not the best character of the episode. I don't know if it was the way Christina Valenzuela voiced her character. She's also the voice of Marinette from Miraculous Ladybug, by the way, but Nina had the kind of charisma and musical talent that gave off some serious low-key Luna vibes. No, really, I could actually see her taking Luna's role in a different universe, and I see that as a compliment to the original character. It's a shame she didn't do a whole lot because she comes off as very likable, and I would definitely like to see her make a comeback at some point. And finally, am I the only one who was left a little freaked out at the fact Mr. Coconuts pretty much floated the idea of killing Nina so she wouldn't make the audition? Try to remember, it's Luann who's responsible for controlling what her puppet says and does. So once again, you're left questioning this girl's sanity. That's all I'm going to say about that. Overall, I was really close to labeling this episode as one of the worst for Season 7. It was just another story where a main character tries to commit sabotage on another character out of fear of something bad happening to them. That concept was handled objectively better in other Luna episodes like Dad Reputation, not so much here. However, at the time of this recording, I'll say this episode stops short of being terrible. Instead, with all things considered, it's more disappointing and stupid at best. Luna's paranoia about being replaced can be understandable if there had been a slow burn prior to her hand injury, but as I said, there was never any evidence to support the idea the Moon Goats were ready to kick her out of the band after how many years. It made sense for them to replace her in the episode Band Together because Luna chose to leave on her own and they had to find a permanent replacement if she was never going to come back. But seriously, one double hand injury and Luann making a one-off comparison to being replaced in one school play, and that's enough for Luna to think the Moon Goats were ready to dump the person who brought them all together? It just doesn't sound very believable. Regarding those stall tactics Luann used on Nina, and the things Luna and Lynn did to fix Joey's marching problem, I'll admit they weren't super funny, but they were humorous enough by basic cartoon standards. The musical scenes with the Moon Goats weren't too bad either. Even the weird blend of rock instruments and a sousaphone I found oddly satisfying. Also, I believe they made a subtle reference to the episode Elect Shunned when the characters talked about and later performed at a venue called the Cherry Pit Spit. Yeah, I know it's not a direct reference since Lenny was talking about an event instead of a venue, but the crowd was spitting pits at the band, so it's like a half reference if that counts. So in conclusion, as much as it pains me to say this as a big fan of Luna Loud, I see this as her lowest rated episode of the series. It just doesn't do her character any justice, and I never thought I'd see the day she would try to rob an up-and-coming musician of a great opportunity, even if it was only meant to be temporary. That was pretty low, and I thought her episodes couldn't sink any lower than hiccups and downs. Unfortunately, in my opinion, I was proven wrong, and I really wish I hadn't. With that said, I give Music to My Fears a 6.5 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Music to My Fears. So I gotta ask, what did you guys think of this episode? Sound off in the comments below, and be sure to click that subscribe button for more Loud House related content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.